For some, Dubai is a miracle. For others, it's a machine.
And everything you're about to see was built on a decision most countries would never dare to make. Welcome to the Middle East Files. Today, we expose how the impossible city was actually built and why it might all be about to disappear. To understand Dubai, you have to start with nothing.
There is a fundamental rule in the history of human civilization. It is a rule written in geography and blood. Great cities take centuries to build. Rome was not built in a day, it was forged over a millennium. London took 1,000 years of war, plague, and trade to become a superpower. New York needed the industrial might of an entire continent to rise. Civilization requires water. It requires arable land. It requires a climate that does not try to kill you. By all logic, by all the laws of nature and economics, nothing should exist here. But this place broke the rules. In the span of a single human life, less time than it takes a redwood tree to grow an inch, Dubai went from a forgotten fishing village without electricity to the capital of the future. It is the only place on Earth where the police drive Ferraris, where the islands are shaped like palm trees, and where ski slopes are built inside shopping malls while it's 50 degrees Celsius outside. But look closer. Strip away the neon. Forget the influencers and the supercars for a moment. This isn't a story about luck. And contrary to what the world thinks, it is not just a story about oil. It is a story of a gamble so dangerous, so calculated that it should have bankrupted the entire nation. It is a story of a tribe that looked at a map, saw they were in the middle of nowhere, and decided to make themselves the center of everywhere. How did a tribe of pearl divers trick the world into giving them everything? How did they turn sand into silicon? And now, as the oil wells run dry and the world changes, what happens next? Welcome to the mirage. To understand the gold, you have to understand the starvation. You have to understand the silence of the desert before the engines arrived. Rewind to the 1930s. The Trucial States, what we now call the UAE, was one of the poorest regions on the planet. There were no roads, no hospitals, no schools. The infant mortality rate was devastating. The economy relied entirely on one single fragile industry: pearls. For generations, the men of Dubai looked to the sea for survival. They were pearl divers. It was brutal, lung-crushing work. Men would dive to the bottom of the ocean 30, 40 times a day, holding their breath for minutes at a time, risking the bends, risking shark attacks, risking death, all for the chance to find a single perfect gem inside an oyster. The pearl was their oil. It was the only thing they had that the world wanted. The Maharajas of India and the aristocrats of Europe wore pearls harvested by the bleeding hands of Dubai's divers. Then, technology killed them. In Japan, an entrepreneur named Mikimoto Kokichi discovered how to create artificial, cultured pearls. They were rounder, shinier, and, most importantly, cheap. Almost overnight, the global market for natural pearls collapsed. The value of Dubai's only export dropped to zero. The Great Depression followed. The region plunged into a famine so severe that people were reportedly forced to eat locusts to survive. Families dismantled their homes and moved inland. The desert began to swallow the village. Most cities would have disappeared. They would have become ghost towns, buried under the dunes of history. But the Al Maktoum family, the rulers of this small strip of coast, did something strange. They didn't retreat. They didn't beg for aid.
they doubled down. Sheikh Said, and later his son Sheikh Rashid, realized they had a geopolitical asset that no technology could destroy: location. Dubai sat right in the middle of the trade route between the British Empire in the west and India in the east. Even before they had money, they decided to act like they did. They declared Dubai a free port. They abolished taxes for foreign merchants. They invited traders from Iran and India, smugglers, gold merchants, textile dealers, to use the Dubai Creek. They said, "Come here. We won't ask questions. We won't take your money. Just bring your business." It was the first seed of the Dubai model. While their neighbors were closing their borders, Dubai threw theirs open. They were building a brand on being a free zone before they even had paved roads. They realized a secret that would define the next 80 years. If you build the flow, the money will follow. "1966, the drill hits the ground in the offshore Fateh El field. Black gold. The discovery changed the trajectory of the Middle East instantly. Billions of dollars began to flow out of the sand. The poverty of the pearl crash washed away by a tsunami of petrodollars." Now pause for a second. This is where most people stop paying attention. They think this is where the story gets easy. They think, oh, they found oil, so they got rich, end of story. But if you want to understand why that is dead wrong and why most oil-rich countries actually fail, make sure you're subscribed, because we are about to deconstruct the resource curse. History is littered with nations that found oil and destroyed themselves. It's called the resource curse, or the Dutch disease. When a country finds easy money in the ground, they stop making things. They stop innovating. The government bribes the population with subsidies. They buy palaces. They import everything. And when the oil price drops, the country collapses. Sheikh Rashid did the opposite. He looked at the geological reports and saw a terrifying number. Dubai's oil reserves were tiny compared to Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia. The report said the oil would out in maybe 50 years. The clock is ticking. He realized the wealth wasn't a gift, it was a loan, a temporary loan from nature. He famously said a line that has become legendary. "My father rode a camel. I drive a Mercedes. My son drives a Land Rover. His son will drive a Land Rover, but his son will ride a camel." Panic, that was the fuel. He knew he had exactly one generation to turn this temporary money into permanent stone. He had to build an economy that could survive without a single drop of oil. So he started digging, but not for oil. He ordered the dredging of the Dubai Creek in the 1970s. At the time, the creek was too shallow for modern cargo ships. Advisors, British engineers, even his own bankers told him it was insane. The project would cost millions of dollars, money they had to borrow against future oil sales. It was a massive leverage play. If it failed, Dubai would be indebted forever. But Rashid knew the logic of logistics. If the big ships couldn't fit, the business wouldn't come. He dredged the creek, and the ships came. The trade volume doubled, then tripled. He wasn't building for 1970, he was building for 2000. Then in 1979, he built the Dubai World Trade Center, or Sheikh Rashid Tower. At 39 stories, it was the tallest building in the Middle East. People laughed. They called it a white elephant. They asked, who was going to rent an office in the middle of the desert? It stood alone, surrounded by miles of sand. But Rashid wasn't building an office. He was building a symbol. He was planting a flag that said, "We are open for business." Today, that building is barely visible, dwarfed by the forest of skyscrapers that grew around it. But the infrastructure on the ground wasn't enough. If you want to be a global player, you need to own the sky. In the mid-80s, Gulf Air, a consortium of regional countries, began to cut back flights to Dubai, trying to squeeze them out. Dubai was being strangled, so the royal family made another gamble. They gave a British aviation expert, Maurice Flanagan, $10 million and 2 rented planes from Pakistan International Airlines. The instruction was simple: build an airline, don't ask for more money, and look good doing it. That was the birth of Emirates. Today, it is one of the largest airlines in the world, and the strategy was pure geometry. Look at a map. Dubai is an 8-hour flight from 2/3 of the world's population. They turned their location into their greatest weapon. They built the ultimate layover. They didn't just wait for tourists to arrive, they built the bus that brought them. By the 1990s, the strategy shifted from survival to expansion. The goal was no longer just to be a trade hub, it was to be the hub. They built Jebel Ali Port. It is the largest man-made harbor in the world. It is so large, it can be seen from space. During the Gulf War in the early 90s, while others were scared of the conflict, Dubai opened Jebel Ali to the US Navy. They became the service station for the American war machine. It solidified their alliance with the West and brought in massive revenue. But ports and planes are industrial. They're boring. To become a global superpower, Dubai needed something else. They needed hype. They needed to become a luxury destination. The problem, Dubai has a very short coastline. If you want to build beachfront hotels, you run out of space very quickly. Most countries would accept their geography. Dubai decided to edit the map. Enter the Palm Jumeirah, the world's largest artificial archipelago. The engineering required here was unprecedented. They couldn't use steel or concrete for the foundation because the salt water would corrode it. They had to build it entirely from sand and rock. They dredged millions of tons of sand from the bottom of the Gulf and sprayed it into place using GPS guidance. They had to use vibro-compaction technology to shake the sand until it was as hard as concrete, so the skyscrapers wouldn't sink into the ocean. It was an ecological disaster to some, but an engineering miracle to others. It doubled Dubai's coastline overnight. It wasn't just land, it was a billboard. It told the world, we can do the impossible. And then, the crown jewel, the Burj Khalifa. At 828 meters, it is not just the tallest building in the world. It is taller than the Eiffel Tower and the Empire State Building combined. The design is based on the Hymenocallis flower, a desert lily. It is an aerodynamic masterpiece, designed to confuse the wind so the building doesn't sway. But why build it? Why go that high? Because in the attention economy, being the biggest matters. It put Dubai on the map for every tourist on Earth. This was the era of if you build it, they will come. And they came. Madonna, Beckham, Cruz. Dubai became the playground of the rich. Real estate prices skyrocketed. People were buying apartments off-plan, literally buying air and selling them for double the price a week later. It was a frenzy, a gold rush. But as history teaches us, every gold rush has a bust. You cannot build a dream without a cost, and in Dubai, the cost is paid in sweat. Behind the luxury hotels, the brunches, and the influencers, there is a shadow city, an army of hundreds of thousands of migrant workers. They come from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and the Philippines. They borrow money to pay recruiters just to get here. They arrive with debt, and then, under the kafala system, their visas are tied to their employers. For years, stories circulated of passports being confiscated, leaving men trapped. 45-degree heat during the summer. They live in labor camps far from the eyes of tourists, often with 8 or 10 men to a room. They send almost every dirham they earn back home to their families. For the families back in Kerala or Dhaka, Dubai is a lifeline. But for the human rights organizations, it is modern-day indentured servitude. This is the engine room of the city. It is the uncomfortable truth that pays for the impossible skyline. The city is a shiny monument built on the backs of the invisible. But in 2009, the machine almost broke. The global financial crisis ripped through the world. The credit crunch hit Dubai harder than almost anywhere else because Dubai was built on debt. Suddenly, the money stopped. Cranes froze in the sky. Property values crashed by 60%. People who had lost their jobs fled the country to avoid debtor's prison, abandoning their Ferraris and Porsches at the airport with the key still in the ignition. The world laughed. The international press wrote obituaries for Dubai. They said, "The bubble has popped. The mirage is over." Dubai World, the state-owned conglomerate, was on the brink of default. And here's a secret that many tourists miss. Did you know the tallest building in the world was originally called the Burj Dubai? It was renamed on the very day of its opening. Why? Because Dubai was broke. In the 11th hour, their oil-rich neighbor Abu Dhabi stepped in with a $10 billion bailout to save the economy. As a gesture of gratitude and perhaps submission, Dubai renamed the tower after the ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Khalifa. It stands today as a permanent, glittering reminder of the debt. If you're enjoying this untold history of power and politics, hit that subscribe button. We have more deep dives on the Saudi royal family and the Qatar World Cup coming soon.
We need to move the assets before the freeze. The Dubai exchange is secure.
Dubai survived the crash. It swallowed its pride, took the bailout, and evolved again. It realized that real estate wasn't enough. It needed to be indispensable. It became the Switzerland of the Middle East. The strategy is simple: neutrality. When the Arab Spring set the region on fire, money fled to Dubai. When Russia invaded Ukraine and sanctions hit, Russian oligarchs moved their yachts to Dubai. When China clamped down on tech, entrepreneurs moved to Dubai. They have created a safe room for the global elite. No questions asked, no taxes, just safety. But that safety is purchased with control. Dubai is one of the most surveilled cities on Earth. There are cameras everywhere. AI predicts crimes before they happen. There is zero tolerance for dissent. You can leave a bag of diamonds on a table in a Starbucks, and it will be there when you get back. It is the ultimate social contract. You give up your political voice and your privacy, and in return, you get a tax-free paradise where the chaotic problems of the world cannot touch you. Now, the clock is ticking again. The Al Maktoum family knows the old model is fading. The oil is truly almost gone. The world is moving to green energy, and the neighbors are waking up. Saudi Arabia, under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is building the line. They're opening up to tourism. Qatar hosted the World Cup. The regional competition is fierce. Dubai is no longer the only game in town. So, what is the new bet? The pivot is to technology, AI, and space. Dubai is trying to transform from a tourist hub
into a silicon oasis. They are handing out golden visas, long-term residency, to coders, creators, and scientists. They want to own the future of the internet, Web3, crypto, and AI, just like they owned the seaports. They are sending probes to Mars. They are testing flying taxis. They are trying to change the DNA of the city from a place of consumption to a place of creation. 50 years ago, experts said Dubai was impossible. 30 years ago, they said it was a bubble. 10 years ago, they said it was broke. And yet, the lights are still on. Dubai is a monument to human will. It is a testament